Hi guys, I'm back with another video. Today's video is going to be my thoughts on the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th round of the 2025 NFL Draft. You guys know how these videos go by now, so I'm just going to get right into it and start talking about the Steelers and the teams that I thought did good in these last couple rounds. So let's just get right into it. So the fourth round and the 123rd pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Jack Sawyer, edge from Ohio State. So the edge position could really be any position on the defensive line, but I'm going to either say he's going to be a left end, defensive tackle, or right end. Now, like I said before in the previous video, in my first round thoughts, I know about the TJ Watt situation. And the TJ Watt situation is that the Pittsburgh Steelers want to trade away TJ Watt, even though I really hope the Steelers do not do that. But having an edge like this guy is a good idea to draft him. He could be TJ Watt's replacement, just like I said about Derek Harmon, the guy we drafted in the first round. He's a defensive tackle from Iowa, and I think overall, drafting defensive people to replace TJ Watt, if we are going to replace him, is a good idea. But I'm still hoping for and rooting for the Steelers not to trade TJ Watt because I really like TJ Watt and I think he is an essential player to our defense. So I hope we keep him. But drafting people like this for the future is good because a person like Cam Hayward, who's been our right end for several years now, he doesn't have many years left to play. I know he's going to retire soon, so having a replacement is a good idea. And like I said in the first round, well, excuse me, I sneezed. But anyways, I've said it for years now, but the Steelers have needed a defensive tackle. It's a position that we've never really had depth in, but I think it's something that the Steelers need. So having an edge and getting an end was a good thing. So I'm happy about that pick. But who are the other teams that did good in this round? Um, well, the Panthers decided to select Trevor Etienne, running back from Georgia, and he is the brother to I think his is Travis Etienne, who is the running back for the Jaguars. If he still is, I can't remember if he's still with the Jaguars or not, but I think he is. Um, the Browns decide to select Shedeur Sanders, quarterback from Colorado. I didn't mention this in the third round, but I was talking about the Browns quarterback situation. I didn't really know what their situation was because they have Deshaun Watson, who's the best quarterback on their team. But I did a little bit more research into it. I did look into it a little bit more. And the Browns do have five quarterbacks now. Their first string quarterback is Deshaun Watson. Their second string quarterback is Joe Flacco. Their third string quarterback is Kenny Pickett. And then they drafted Dylan Gabriel, quarterback from Oregon. And then they just drafted Shedeur Sanders, quarterback from Colorado. So they got some depth in the quarterback position, but like two of these quarterbacks are going to be cut. Who's going to be cut? I have no idea, but the Browns have a decent quarterback situation right now. The Cowboys decide to draft Jaden Blue, running back from Texas. He's a good running back. Probably not the best running back in the NFL draft, but he's still pretty good. Um, Now we're going into the sixth round. With the sixth round and the 180th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers decide to pick Will Howard, quarterback from Ohio State, which overall, I think that's a pretty good pick. I mentioned it earlier in the first or second round, maybe even third. I mentioned the fact that the Steelers don't really have a good quarterback situation right now. They decided to get rid of Justin Fields. They decided to get rid of Russell Wilson. They decide to bring back Mason Rudolph. I don't know if Kyle Allen is still with the team. So drafting Will Howard was a good idea. Now, I don't know. I don't know if Will Howard will be our first string quarterback. Maybe Kyle Allen will, or maybe we'll actually get a good quarterback. Who knows? But I'm going to have to say it's a good pick. Will Howard is not the worst quarterback in the draft, but he's not the best either. But I'm pretty confident with the Steelers' selection of Will Howard. I think it's a good pick, but he's a good quarterback, but he's not the best one we could have picked, but I'm okay with it. Who did good in the sixth round? Well, the Dolphins decided to select Ollie Gordon II, running back from Oklahoma State. The Eagles decided to select Kyle McCord, quarterback from Syracuse. The Colts decided to select Riley Leonard, Notre Dame quarterback. The Chargers decided to draft Brenson Taylor, offensive tackle from Pittsburgh, which is the first Pittsburgh Panther to be drafted. I mention this every year. I try to keep a tally of how many Pittsburgh Panthers get drafted because they're my favorite college football team, so I obviously have to keep track of that. So far, 3 have been drafted this year, and I'm going to get to them. The Vikings decided to select Kobe King, cornerback from Penn State. The Vikings decided to select Gavin Bartholomew, tight end from Pittsburgh. So he's the second. Good pick from the Vikings. Now we're getting in the seventh round, which the Steelers have 2 picks in the 7th round. The 7th round pick, the 226th pick, Carson Bruner, linebacker from Washington. Like I said about the Steelers before, the Steelers do have good linebackers. It's a position the Steelers could develop better, but, getting a linebacker in the draft is not a bad idea. We have gotten some good linebackers from the NFL draft, so who isn't to say that Carson Bruner is not going to be a good linebacker? And they also drafted the 229th pick, Dante Kent, cornerback, Central Michigan. Pittsburgh is known from drafting from the Big Ten and the MAC conference. So it's not really too surprised that the Steelers drafted a cornerback from Central Michigan. They typically do that every year. Sometimes the player makes the team and sometimes they don't. It's just a part of the Pittsburgh Steelers philosophy, but overall those 2 picks are good. And who did good in the 7th round? The Dolphins decided to select Quinn Ewers, quarterback from Texas, which is a good pick for the Dolphins. The Jaguars decided to draft LeQuint Allen, running back from Syracuse. And the Rams decided to draft the 3rd Pittsburgh Panther, Kaneda Mumpfield, wide receiver from Pittsburgh. So So, what are my overall thoughts on the Steelers and the 2025 NFL Draft? Um, I think the Steelers did a good job. I'm happy with some of the picks that they have made. Not all of them are the best, but I do give them credit. They did draft some good people. Um, I am happy that the Steelers have drafted a defensive tackle. I've said it many years on the channel that the Pittsburgh Steelers need to draft a defensive tackle. It's a position that we haven't developed well enough. We haven't had a lot of depth in it, so I'm pretty happy that the Steelers drafted a defensive tackle. Um, they also drafted Caleb Johnson, a running back from Iowa, which I'm pretty happy about that too. I mentioned in the third round that the Steelers lost Najee Harris. We don't have him anymore. We do have Jaylen Warren, but our running back system still needs to be developed. Like I said, I think we need to get a veteran running back on the team. Jaylen Warren is a good running back, and having this guy on the team will obviously help as well. Drafting Jack Sawyer in the fourth round, it's the same thing as the defensive tackle. If we are truly going to trade TJ Watt, we need somebody to replace him, and drafting Derek Harmon, defensive tackle from Oregon, and Jack Sawyer, edge from Ohio State, would be a good idea for two replacements of TJ Watt, or a replacement of Cam Hayward if he retires. But overall, pretty good picks there. The sixth round, the fifth round, we drafted another defensive tackle, Ujah Black, defensive tackle from Iowa, which is another thing I would like to say. Another defensive tackle. I'm really happy about that, like I've said before. The sixth round, us drafting Will Howard. Like I said, he's a good quarterback. Not the best quarterback in the draft, but I'm pretty happy with his selection. And, the seventh round, Carson Bruner and Dante Kent, cornerback. They're both beneficial to the team. Positions that we need work on in depth. So I'm happy with those picks too. Overall, I think the Steelers good in this year's NFL draft. Obviously, they could have done better, but, with what they've had, I think they did good. Now, who do I think did, other than the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are the other teams that I think did well? It's really hard to decide who other teams that did good. There was a lot of teams that did good this year in the NFL draft with drafting some good players. A lot of teams did well, so I'm not going to really say that any team did really good because a lot of teams drafted a lot of good people. And I'm not going to put the notion out there that, that one team did better. If I had to say one team that did really well was the Jaguars. They drafted some good people. There's a lot of other teams that I could have mentioned, but, I think the Jaguars did the best out of all of them, but, I think the other teams did well, so that is my thoughts on the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th round of the 2025 NFL Draft. And if you guys like this video, please don't forget to please like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace, period.